the first to know in Nsem-Pii TV.
And the Supreme Court echo asetena ninyina a case Alexander Kwamena Afenyo marking ono a majority leader at the Crocodile Supreme Court about Urban Semana Kingsford Bagbin motion Harry Naidu to the Babatun and him say seat 9 or was a declared vacant majority leader and so a call for Intremuna and Mino say the court no echo assistant and near him say Urban Semana Kingsford Bagbin lawyers you're tadio sorry mo ebebabi piemu ewo court nanso Jakoko piemu ewo court no court kwa assistant e ka say mo ba be ginem e de am speaker obia ansore no obia entimi ansore kire say obia ensi court wo ewo abra yira joga te sorry e no afi Godfrey de bo adame so etimi sorry na no e no Omanhene say sisi ye timi aba abedu baabi a enipa edwene ne political party mu ekra esene oman no eyi yo anasa sumdwe a oman no ebetimi enyane Supreme Court ekasa bo ne hwan se obeche Supreme Court ano e de awo form yenko ti Omanhene Kwabena Asante.
Patriotism is next. And then we even rely on our various faiths. And then what is going on in this country? Party interest serving, egos at play. Look at the shameful act. And then one say, Ghana has not risen to the extent that they barricaded parliament, the Krakatche parliament, to dwell with all of them. It's a shame to all of them. It doesn't matter whether you are minority or majority. I'm coming to the media. The last hope, lender of last resort, what they call bank mua. Now they call court in Nsem-Pii. Baby yakuma ni bibia ni da so nyina wo ye buye brai sua Supreme Court. It doesn't matter ti a won ti won say also say and you know sometimes humility if only ni pe binim to say speaker of parliament edin koma edin because nimdia owo suahuna owo you cannot easily think say onu onim de oye but as human as he is he still think he can still be wrong.
Oh, sure.
And we have to, as a country, shift from these partisan positions. Egos are any dear. Poster, a very poster. No, be a baby trim and a permanent. Why? Or more now, but to a standstill because. Assume a senior Binting and the comedy in parliament. It's just because and the utterances of people who understand law because they are making law. Commentary. Maybe I shame Rano. They have the guts to tell us that we should follow the law. The legislature no. They have the guts. They should know that they were amongst us. And I'm not privileged. I didn't know. They are not superhuman beings. They are not, for God's sake, they are not. Some of them, they are mere braggarts. As if they have the power to make Ghana die within a second. If you are too so minor, a two bunny brababy idea who the Supreme Court of this land. Now, one only presenter be and I say Mashebe and I say speaker be and only president be. When the Supreme Court of the land speaks and you have a contrary opinion, nobody stops you.
Yes. But you have to follow.
You have to. Then will be next and you was idea. And then Kadian will ask him. But if you have a speaker who out of nothing, Timika check Ghana for you and say Ned on him baby. Nipa Omoba Parliament, Omobetina. Do you know where we're headed towards? It doesn't matter what you think is right in your head. It doesn't matter the perception you have about the Supreme Court. And everybody is looking on concern. Is it not shameful that 2 weeks Ghana, the developmental plan in them because these so-called legislatures no, ultimately we see another time. 2 weeks we have not said anything. What we are discussing is where Kwabena Asante will sit and where OB is supposed to sit. A sovereign country, 66-7 years, That is the best developmental conversation we can have for the past 2 weeks. Egos at work, partisan interests, threats. People want the country to turn upside down. Can you imagine the country we find ourselves in now? Now, why now? A person be dim razon, don't be dim razon. Why? And you see, people we think should know better. Running commentaries that are extremely chaotic. Extremely chaotic. Extremely chaotic. Where are our leaders? Yeah. Where is the Ghana agenda? The Ghana first. Where is our sense of patriotism? Mr. Speaker, why? You remind us that we are number 3. Whoa. There is a president called Namalaka, number 1 saying, why?
That's all your number.
And so what? And so what? Or number 3. And who's Zazuni? And so what? And so what? Now you're number 3 into Yanko Chaos man. And so what? If we don't come to our senses and think that Baby Duno is not and it cannot be about individuals and political parties and serving interests that are just not in the interest of the bigger picture. Now you become a JJ Musaidia. Obi, ye be a coin be at all and ye chase be at all. We all know. Yadi in a debi doing answer. Ye mere kunino. Ye in a jitun say, a fanfa be brave honma, a sin to either abem. But I tell you, it doesn't mean that we not from number critic chaos and normal confusion is in this country. My friend, their act is so shameful. I'm wondering how they call people to appear before them at privileges.
Fortunately, Nyame Adoma Ochina, Supreme Court Nasha said Ochina no more final.
Obi, I'm not going to the Supreme Court, but I mean, my point is say whether Supreme Court or no Supreme Court, there has been a first directed from the Supreme Court. Is it not the case?
Sure.
Nadia Nsem-Pii. The same Supreme Court na the biada Yahuro Musenguno. This same Supreme Court has been with us all these years. And if we are not careful, these same people we call lawmakers, will make this country fall into a grave. Followed by media. When the Supreme Court gives an instruction, why do you refer to somebody as a MPP caucus in Parliament? For what? Since when did we start calling people NDC caucus, MPP caucus? We have the majority and the minority. Until otherwise. We ain't speaker at the expense of Supreme Court. Never. Me, I will not do that. I cannot listen to the speaker.
You would want to go with
straight
what the
away.
Supreme Court says. Straight
away. That is the status quo. If you disagree, go there, challenge them with reasonable whatever, arguments, and come back. But as it stands now, the power to restrain or to stop you has been issued or has been given. We still have the same parliament there once we go and contend what is supposed to be done at the court.
Yes.
Why are we just doing this? Whether court net you, whether court into you, whether MPP for Buapayo, whether NDC for Buapayo, it's not necessary. What is necessary is that a voice has spoken, and that voice says that peace be still. Let us take that decision, and afterwards, we will know whether the seats are vacant or otherwise. What is our problem? It is the activities of this country, government, businesses, everything, and people are just watching them to go scot-free. And I call Bosume I feel money now Obaji S. Gracia. Next Gracia in favor. Why are you not holding them accountable? And among the members of parliament, granting interviews in press conference.
For what?
For what? BPI politics. Why? For what? The Supreme Court, you know, we are free. Saudi Arabians and Why? Why do we allow ourselves to be manipulated like that? Why? I know Kofidia Kobnabi Wabadia wrong. Why? And then both private and public businesses and man yourself destroy the fiber of everything in this country. Why? People deliberately set people up. Count down to these elections.
I would address something generally. Okay. We'll hear shortly from the Majority Leader Alexander Fenyomarkin. Proceedings are just concluded in court. Arguments have been made. The substantive matters have been heard. The Majority Leader will now speak.
Basically, I would go outside of the law and talk a bit of politics and nation building. I humbly hold a view that as a political class, we owe a duty to ensure the peace of the country and to strengthen the pillars of democracy. We can only do so if we respect the law and act in a manner that the citizenry would have confidence in us. We have 3 weeks to go for an election, more or less. I think that the peace of Parliament is entirely in the hands of Mr. Speaker. If you follow the chronology of events, Mr. Speaker could have done better, considering the fact that even before initiating this action, I had gone to him to discuss the fact that Omanhene Idrisu had raised the matter on a political platform and the fact that we should come together and deal with the matter. He assured me that he would guide the process. Unfortunately, that did not happen. I eventually had to file the writ upon seeing the petition of Mr. Idrisu to be argued on the House floor. He again went to Mr. Speaker. That Mr. Speaker, now that you have knowledge of this petition by Honorable Omanhene Idrisu, does that mean that you are going to take a step? He said no. The application by Omanhene Idrisu would have to be admitted by him first, and that he has not admitted any motion. So I should be rest assured. Then the next stage of serving the writ on the legal directorate. There again, he gave me assurance that because of a certain circular, the directorate could not receive the process until the next Monday. Then I became alarmed when we got onto the House floor. And this time around, the petition from Omanhene Idrisu was not a matter in issue, but rather Honorable Sh0cks was going to invoke Order 93 to make a statement. We said, okay, fair enough, let's see what will happen. I tried to engage my colleagues on the other side. But you see, they were hell-bent on the politics they wanted to do that day. And from all the actions, it was clear that Mr. Speaker was in the know of whatever they were going to do. So he just called Sh0cks, Dr. Sh0cks, and he came out with this thing. We argued it, and unfortunately, Mr. Speaker announced that he was going to give a ruling on Thursday, when he had assured me that he wasn't going to give a ruling, but because of the court process and all that, he was going to wait so that we all abide by the reasoning of the court. Because according to him, the matter was a constitutional matter. So for me, it was a big surprise that Mr. Speaker would go out of his way to make a ruling, which immediately made the NDC proclaim themselves to be majority, although he himself continued to address me as a majority leader. Fast forward, we came to court, the court intervened, and now the new argument of Mr. Speaker was that he didn't give a ruling. He only gave an opinion. He expressed a view on the matter. He met us on Tuesday, the 22nd of October, at a pre-sitting meeting. And at the pre-sitting meeting, I told Mr. Speaker that, well, you are saying you have received the court process and that you have not declared the NDC the majority. Now that they are sitting on our seat, what are you going to do, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker told me that that is the responsibility of the clerk. He later repeated the same thing to the Council of State and the Peace Council. The clerk to Parliament made sure that he had arranged our seat, the majority caucus, our seat, at where we are supposed to sit, the right of Mr. Speaker. Placed our name tags there. The NDC came to remove them. Mr. Speaker was aware of this. He watched and continued with the proceedings, where I think Mr. Speaker failed the nation and failed our democracy. And I do so with utmost respect. Some of the NDC guys are trying to suggest that expressing my view on his conduct amount to disrespect. Let me state it clear that I will be the last person, I repeat, I, Kwamena Afenyo Markin, will be the last person to disrespect Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker should not think that he's a king. He's an emperor. He's not an emperor. He's a democrat. Therefore, he shouldn't be too sensitive to divergent views and opposing views. What he's doing, in all humility, is wrong. So my friends in the NDC should open their eyes and ask themselves, if they were the ones at the receiving end, how would they react? For anybody to suggest that the majority was not reaching out, was not building consensus, that person was really getting it wrong. Because for a whole week, I know of prominent chiefs, very prominent and respected chiefs, who engaged my side and engaged Mr. Speaker and transmitted some communication to me. I won't mention their names. They transmitted some communications to me that Mr. Speaker was in fact even going to convene Parliament without our recall application, and that I should reach out to him. I went to his residence 2 occasions. They said he was not available. Later, I communicated to that prominent chief. The prominent chief reached out to him. He picked his call, but he didn't pick my call. And then told me that, oh, Mr. Speaker says he's busy with some visiting speakers of African Parliament. So we should make it Monday morning, 10 o'clock. Monday, I spent my whole day in Parliament. Mr. Speaker was not available. Tuesday, same. Later in the afternoon, I was told that Mr. Speaker was challenging the okayedness of the court. So he has instructed his lawyers to file a motion to set it aside. So we should go to court. When we return from court, we'll see what to be done. Put that aside. The Council of State reached out to me again that they have spoken to Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker concedes that he has not made a ruling and that the NDC will move to their own seat. He gave them the assurance. Council of State communicated that to us. We said, okay, if in all of these Mr. Speaker decides to resign, what should I do? I should go and sit on the minority seat? Spiritually, it's not even good. You have 3 weeks to election. I should go and sit on minority. Is that my seat? I won't dare sit there. I will never do it. I will never do it. That's not my rightful place. I should go to minority. Spiritually, make myself a minority person. No. And bind my colleagues. We won't do that. No MPP person will do that. In any event, we were privy to certain things that we cannot make public. That if our colleagues had entered the chamber to attempt to enforce their right, perhaps we wouldn't be here. So in fact, we are decent-minded people. Yes. We respect the courts. We respect the law. Our doors are open to Mr. Speaker's call. I repeat, our doors